And I said, I got to be honest with you, it is red. You, in my honest opinion, at this stage, as your coach, as hard as this is to hear, your dreams and goals are impossible if you continue living with this man.
When you are being mistreated by your partner, your gut, right? We go to that saying very often. Our gut knows it, right? Our intuition knows it. You and I both were in past relationships where our gut knew that it wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
But our head and our heart, quote unquote, wasn't on the same page. Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have episode 163. Are you being mistreated? For those of you out there who attended our event last night, thank you. It was awesome. And one of, I think, the most powerful we've ever done. And we're going to get into that. So we always do an event recap. So if you cannot make it live, you still get some of the goods. Before we jump into this episode, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you, as always, to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this podcast and so many others. Personal growth, personal development, self-improvement, mental health, spreading it into the world. We all know the world desperately needs that. Whoa. Sweetheart, ladies first, what's your intention for today's episode?
My intention is for all of our conscious couples and or conscious singles that are listening to this episode to walk away or scroll away from this episode with a tangible scorecard that they can finally have in their back pocket so that they're not gaslighting themselves with this question, if I'm being mistreated or not. You actually have tangible evidence that helps you understand not only whether or not you are, but where specifically and how to put language and to name that. Because when we actually have language to what we're experiencing, we have a far greater chance at helping make meaningful change in our relationships.
So this is called the mistreatment scorecard. And Emilia and I, when we opened the event yesterday, we talked about how in the past, our past relationships, we would have been red.
Oh, it would have been amazing if we had this.
Yeah. So I will just share my sort of relationship journey here quickly. So I have had 4 long-term relationships in my life. And when I say long-term, I mean 2 years plus. Okay. So I had one rocky, decent one. I had one really good one. I had one that was terrible, in my honest opinion. And then I have the magnificent Emilia Smith, by far the best, not even close. Seriously. And if I had this scorecard during the really bad one, the whole thing would have been red.
Right.
And I think that would have been a really heavy mirror for me, but it would have helped me understand, like, oh, okay, so I'm in my head, I know intuitively that I'm being mistreated, but now I have evidence. These are a thing. This isn't a me thing. This is a thing.
Yeah.
And we want that to be the case for every single person out there listening. So there's going to be a digital asset. I have it up on Emilia's phone right here, and Emilia created it. And so just to give you a little backstory, Emilia and I researched the top 20 ways in which couples mistreat each other, and then we cherry-picked the 10 that we believe. And then when we read the list, we were like, yep, those are the ones. Those are the ones. So green, yellow, red, real quick. So during the event yesterday, Emilia and I led by example. So we were on a walk 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago now, and we had these up, and we did green, yellow, red. And I do this with my clients all the time. Green and growing, yellow means it's, I could use some work, and red is, rut-row.
We call them growth skittles. And I want to put this in here because Alan and I also do a lot of the times with our clients a 0 to 10 scale. And we know that sometimes numbers can be traumatizing because when you see at a level 10 out of 10, you have been mistreating your partner, that can kind of put you into what we call a shame spiral. And analysis paralysis. So the growth skittles are the green, yellow, red. And I think it also adds a little bit of fun flavor into this work, which I think is really important and will help to connect to those emotional centers when people are really struggling doing this.
And the other thing that's really relevant to this too, and again, this is me, I don't know what it's like overseas necessarily, but green, yellow, red is a stoplight. So when you're at an intersection, green means go, yellow means slow or speed up, and red means to stop. Okay.
Or fire fast.
Yeah. Apparently Emilia hammers through red lights. She's joking. Okay, so these are the top 10 ways people mistreat each other. Here we go. Number 1, taking them for granted. And there's a little definition. When you download the scorecard in the show notes, click on the Google Drive link. You'll download it totally free, and you'll see there's a definition. So the definition is forgetting to show appreciation for what they do. The second one is lack of communication, ignoring their thoughts, feelings, or concerns. Number 3 is criticism and negativity, focusing on flaws without offering encouragement. Number 4 is emotional neglect, being physically present but emotionally distant. Number 5 is silent treatment, shutting down instead of working through conflict. Number 6 is breaking trust. My goodness. Lying, hiding things, or being deceitful. That's a big no-no. Number 7, lack of physical affection, withholding touch, hugs, or intimacy, or as we call it,
Snugs.
Kisses, hugs, cuddles, and snugs. Or what Emilia said.
Snug and buns.
Yeah, snug and buns. Number 8, prioritizing others over them, always putting work, friends, or family first. Number 9 is keeping score, bringing up past mistakes to quote-unquote win arguments. And then number 10 is neglecting self-improvement, expecting them to grow while refusing to work on yourself. So that would have been red for me in a past relationship. Most of those would have been yellow or red, almost no green. And Emilia and I, we each rated ourselves and we each rated each other. Just to keep this simple, download the scorecard. I would say rate yourself. And then if you want to, you can bring this to your partner and ask their perspective as well. And I did mention this in the event last night that I think is really critical. So in that past relationship that I don't think was very good, I think it was kind of toxic, this scorecard potentially would have been used against me. In other words, these are the things you're not doing. These are the things that you should be doing. So be careful if you're in a relationship right now that is in any level toxic, or you're with a partner who's extremely selfish and doesn't take good care of you, or isn't careful, or a good caregiver or a good partner. Do not bring them this scorecard, because this will give them ammunition against you potentially. So go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah, there's something that came up that I want to share, and it might be a little nerdy, but I'm going to bring that in because that's who I am, and I don't want to withhold that level of authenticity on the show. In relationships, we often hear that my heart wants this, my mind wants that. Lead with your heart. There's technically, when we actually look at our internal system, and this is going to come full circle in a sec. We have our gut, which has nerves in it, right? That's so many aspects of our decision making around intimacy in our relationships come from our gut feeling, right? Then you have your heart. Your heart actually has specific neurons in it that allows you to make decisions that are good for your internal system. And then you also have your brain. And so the triad of your heart, quote unquote, in relationships has to work together in concert to help you make effective decisions in your relationship. And I find that when you are being mistreated by your partner, your gut, right? We go to that saying very often. Our gut knows it, right? Our intuition knows it. You and I both were in past relationships where our gut knew that it wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
But our head and our heart, quote unquote, wasn't on the same page.
I would say my mind tried to convince me that I was inaccurate.
Right.
So think of the mind, the heart, and the body. If the mind, the heart, and the body are not aligned, all three of them, most likely there is some mistreatment happening.
Exactly. And so that triad, I believe, is so powerful if we look at it from that frame, from the frame of we have a triad of the quote unquote heart. And it's where the marriage of the heart, the mind, and the gut really intersect. And this scorecard actually helps you get that data that, like you said, intuitively you know, but you can't necessarily tangibilize. When you go and rate the scorecard, like, for example, it really hit me last night when you and I were talking after the event, like younger Emilia and younger Alan.
Oh, I know.
If we had the scorecard and like really actually had it.
We desperately needed this podcast.
So bad.
Yeah.
And like, I have so much love for those younger versions of me. And it also makes me really sad at how many relationships actually stay too long. They gaslight themselves. They have so many negative implications and traumatizing moments in relationships where, from my perspective, if you were to have this scorecard and if you were to do some of this work that we talk about on the Conscious Couples podcast and in Relationship Talks event, you know, you would have such a magnificent relationship, and or you would release yourself from the throngs, from the toxicity, from the living inauthentically to who you genuinely really are with someone kind of ball and chain with you. You know, there's a couple of people that I really wish were at that event last night, because we said this, you know, some of the people that need it the most aren't going to be in the room. And we knew that going into this event. Hopefully they're listening. And, you know, the big opener of last night's event was that Maya Angelou quote, you know, to simplify, it's people won't remember, you know, what you did or what you said, but people will absolutely remember how you made them feel. Right. And we acknowledge that not everyone takes full autonomy and ownership as to how they construct their own emotional experience. But the aspect that was super critical to open in this event was to recognize that your partner is absolutely contributing to how you feel about relationships, how you feel about love, your worldview, your belief systems, your belief system about yourself. And the mistreatment cycle that happens, it starts very, very, very small, psychologically and emotionally. And a lot of that happens underneath the radar. And that's what the scorecard is designed to help prevent, because mistreatment eventually leads to abuse. And we detailed that out in the event from a statistical standpoint. And I just wish that, because we've both been we've been the battered on the other end of abuse, and it started as small mistreatments. Imagine what would happen if we really did have the scorecard. So that younger version of Emilia is like, oh my goodness, I want to get this in everyone's hand.
100%.
Bonnie here. I just wanted to share my experience with group coaching and some of the things that I got out of it. So going into group coaching, I was not tracking any habits at all. And I had sort of jumped on board habit tracking here and there, knowing it was a good idea, but not sort of ever succeeding with it. And so now some of them have become habits. I'm happy to say I wake up, I have a glass of water without even thinking about it anymore. So now I think it's probably time to gear up and like increase my water intake or change the water one a little bit, something like that. And so I highly encourage people to jump into group coaching. There's so much information that you will get out of it. I recommend bringing a notebook to all of the sessions and taking lots of notes, asking lots of questions, and rewatching the videos, because it is the video coaching part is just packed with information. I also really recommend that you check in with your accountability buddy and sort of lift each other up throughout the experience, because there's lots of momentum, it's really exciting, and then it gets hard. And so stick with it and carry on, and your life will be better for it. Okay, take care.
Well, what would have happened is you and I, our gut was telling us something's wrong. This is not okay. This is not right. Something's off. And then our mind was, no, it's okay. No, they didn't mean it. No, they really do love me. No. And this scorecard would have been, oh, okay. My mind, this is the truth.
My mind doesn't want to see how
bad it actually is.
How not only bad it is, but we spoke about this in the event, how little I feel capable of overcoming the change on the other side. It's like the relation. I have a client that's in mind right now. Her mind struggles to believe in her ability of leaving her partner and how good it's going to be after. Yep. She's terrified, and her mind doesn't fully believe in her capabilities to do that. And so her mind starts to emotionally rationalize the behaviors of her partner that are clearly domestic violence.
I like rationalize as rational lies. They're lies that we think are rational when in reality they're inaccurate. And that's why a scorecard like this is so powerful. I had a client way back. She's from Australia. Keep it anonymous. But I remember when I first started coaching her, she's an entrepreneur. She has these big dreams. She was doing all these incredible things. Just a wonderful, wonderful human being, giver. And I told her, and this was really hard for me at the time, I said, I don't know what to do at this point because I cannot help you achieve your goals while being with this man.
Yeah.
And I used to do green, yellow, red back then. I said, I coach a lot of amazing women all over the world. I have been for years. I've been mentoring 10 years, coaching 8, but I've been even doing it long before that. And I know that the biggest bottleneck in someone's life in achieving their goals and dreams is the people they spend time with.
Oh.
And this man who you live with, I have a lot of clients. I can tell the ones that have green husbands or wives. Can tell yellows and I can tell red. And back then I used to call them flags. I didn't call them growth skittles. There's green flags, yellow flags, and red flags.
The flags are the behavior that you experience. The skittles are what you want to do about them. The growth that you want to inject into those scenarios.
Well, either way, I think it's just a colored thing of
I love
green, yellow, red. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yellow is decent and you can work on it. Red this is a hard no.
Yeah.
And I said, I got to be honest with you, it is red. You, in my honest opinion, at this stage, as your coach, as hard as this is to hear, your dreams and goals are impossible if you continue living with this man.
Right.
Not 2 months later, he was wildly abusive to her daughter. I'm talking, just screaming in her face at bad.
Awful.
And she left him after that.
Good for her.
But she only left him after her daughter was mistreated, not after she was, because she grew up in a household where her mom was so wildly abusive, and I'm talking bad. Okay. Yeah. Some of the worst I've ever experienced in coaching. And you hear a lot of stuff behind the scenes in coaching and therapy, by the way. So she was so used to being mistreated. This I'll keep anonymous, but she literally had to spend a week in the garage sleeping on the garage floor because her mom kicked her out of the house when she was a kid. Now, when you're used to being treated that way, she had to, I kid you not, she had to take a shit outside instead of going to the bathroom in the house because of her mother. Now, when this client of mine grew up in that environment, what are the chances she's going to notice a couple yellow flags here and there?
Right.
But she did notice it when it happened to her daughter.
Right.
When it happened to her daughter, that's when she finally said, you know what? Fuck you. I'm out. And now she's flourishing. Yeah. So it's super, super exciting. I'm so proud of that person. But to your point,
celebrating.
It takes a lot of courage to leave a bad relationship, a toxic relationship. But sometimes you don't know it's toxic because all you've ever known is toxic. In this person's life, that's the case. She grew up in such a toxic environment. She didn't know what it was like to be treated well. Yeah. So she didn't even notice the mistreatment. So this scorecard would have changed her life, would have changed our life. And even with Emilia and I, now to bring it to the more growth-oriented side.
I want to flip this script. Are you mistreating your partner? Like, I want to flip the script on this as you bridge this gap, because you and I have talked about so deeply. We are so conscious in our relationship, and we really try so hard, and we spend a lot of conscious energy making sure that we're not going near that yellow button of mistreating each other. Like when we did the growth skittle stack, it was like, okay, like, is that really yellow? It's like, when we compare it to the statistical average, no, we're like flying green in this. But one of the things that we also said in the event was no one intends to hurt, harm, or actively mistreat and abuse their partner.
I don't agree with that. I think some people are that terrible and they actually do intend on hurting people. However, I think that in the beginning of a relationship during the honeymoon phase, I would say the majority of people, but psychopaths and sociopaths, they actually do get off on hurting people. But seriously, and I know you know that. I know you know that.
I know that very well.
The majority of people, I can't have anything inaccurate ever said on the show.
The majority of people.
The majority of people don't get into a relationship saying, "Hey, I'm going to hurt." Like, I have never wanted to hurt Emilia.
Yes.
But, however, I have mistreated Emilia unintentionally.
Same.
And so the point of this too, everyone out there, rate yourself, rate your partner. Do this with your partner if they're at that growth stage. And one of the things that Emilia and I did leading by example is we had a few things came up yellow and we each had one red. We kind of forced ourselves to give a red. So I want to give my red and I want you to give yours.
And in the event, while you look for that in the event, I was so grateful for the fact that you help to showcase the cognitive dissonance, which is when if I thought it was a yellow and you thought it was a red, that illuminates the cognitive dissonance, i.e. where we're not seeing eye to eye. And it was really, really cool. Shout out to you know who you are. After the event, we had a client of ours, past RTC client. Now I have the privilege of helping both of them. They sent me a picture with their equally consent of like, they had a spreadsheet up, babe.
Nice.
They had their numbers down. They had literally like the green, yellow, red Skittles, and they saw everything. Like there was, and I said this, there's very little cognitive dissonance between them in what each other rated themselves and each other, which I thought was such a huge win in the growth that we have helped them really contribute to, because like when we first met them, they were on 2 separate pages. Like the cognitive dissonance, the like, this is green. Oh, actually this is red would have been huge.
We got to describe so cognitive dissonance is if I believe that I'm not mistreating Emilia at all, and the reality is different than what I believe. That's cognitive dissonance. Right. So inaccuracy, essentially. But this couple, they would have been on 2 different pages, and now they totally are on point. So when Emilia and I were walking together, and by the way, if I'm really talking very fast, I literally have to go. So when we were doing this, and this is the last piece of this, Emilia and I rated ourselves and each other, but then we had to figure out, okay, so if I gave myself a yellow, I need to check in with Emilia. Why? What does she think it is?
Yeah. What data are you thinking of to give that score?
So for example, there was one on here to make this tangible. Emotional neglect, being physically present but emotionally distant. So I have an event on April 5th coming up. For anyone out there who wants more information, DM me ASAP, please.
Next Level Live, be there, be square.
Next Level Live 2025. It's going to be unbelievable. Okay, so emotional neglect, being physically present but emotionally distant. When I'm working 80 hours a week, it can be hard for me to be emotionally present for Emilia. So if I gave myself a yellow, and if Emilia had to give a red, which was what we did, she gave me a red on that one. When you do this with your partner, what you want to do is identify when you two disagree.
Right. Because
that means there's something one of you is missing.
Yeah.
So there's so much gold in this for everybody. Because I got to jump, let's rock and roll. Anything you want to add before we go?
No. I love you. Okay. So the only thing is I want to invite everyone who's listening to this episode to our next Relationship Talks event. These events are so freaking powerful. And when you're in this room, right, like this is just a high level. We get deep. We get so into it with the community, and it is so extraordinary of a space where conscious couples and conscious singles unite under things that are just so powerful for us to all experience, get vulnerable on, and really connect on. So be there, be square. The link to register is in the show notes. It is going to be all about how to create more quality time with your partner.
And for anyone who needs help in their intimate relationship, talking about the real things behind the scenes that are super challenging, Relationship Talks coaching would have changed Emilia and I's life. Even if you are out there and you want to come solo, you don't have to come with your partner, and you just want to talk about whether or not you are being mistreated, let's do this together. You can do this exercise with us. The first one's totally free, half hour. Again, I apologize being so quick here. My schedule is blowing my mind lately. It has been really, really difficult to keep up with all this. So thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. As always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is a Lazaros 88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.